20th century French composer, organist, and ornithologist Olivier Messiaen published a book in 1944 called The Technique of My Musical Language, which featured a concept called modes of limited transposition. These are the subject of today's Everything Music. Messiaen was professor of both harmony and composition at the Paris Conservatory, positions he held from 1941 to 1978. His many famous pupils included Quincy Jones, Pierre Boulez, Carl Stockhausen, and George Benjamin. He was also organist for more than 6 decades at the Paris Church of the Holy Trinity. Here is Messiaen improvising on the organ in the Holy Trinity Church. So Messiaen's modes of limited transposition are a set of modes or scales that fit a strict set or criteria relating to their interval groups. Okay, mode 1 of the Messiaen modes is the whole tone scale. We already know that it's a symmetrical scale and it repeats every whole step. So there are only 2 transpositions and 1 mode. The first mode, for example, this is a C whole tone scale and it has whole, 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 whole. Its 1 mode would be a half step above that. So it'd be D flat whole tone would be its only mode. And then it repeats again on D. D whole tone is the same notes as C whole tone. So this one's really easy to remember and probably the one that you're most familiar with. Messiaen mode 1 is the whole tone scale. If I do it in the key of C, we'll do C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and back to C. So one of the nice things, you can kind of come up with some cool chords like beautiful. You don't have to simply do the typical or the dream sequence sounds. If I take a C augmented triad and a D augmented triad, I put them together. And then if I do D augmented and E augmented together like this, it will give you a really beautiful sound. Great, great sound. Mode 2 of the Messiaen modes is the octatonic scale or the half-whole diminished scale. It's just made up of alternating half steps and whole steps, okay? There are 3 transpositions and 2 modes of the scale. Because the scale repeats every minor third, that's where we have the 2 modes. You have the root position and then the 2 modes in between. In this case, you have the notes C, D flat, E flat, E, F sharp, G, A, B flat, C. So a C octatonic scale is the same as an E flat octatonic scale, which is the same as F sharp, which is the same as A. And it sounds like this. I'm going to do it in a different key. I'm going to start on G and go G, A flat, B, C sharp, D, E, F. So that's a G half whole diminished scale. This would be used very commonly in modern classical music. Messiaen used it and John Coltrane uses it. Here's a little example of what it would sound like. Okay, mode 3 is one of my favorites. It has 4 transpositions and 3 modes. It has a very regular pattern of whole, half, half, whole, half, half, whole, half, half. I could write this as G flat here, so it's actually, so it's more consistent here because I did E flat and E, G flat and G, B flat and B. This would be actually a diminished third, but it's actually just a whole step. This is the easy way to remember this particular mode. It's a great sounding mode, and it sounds like this. Messiaen mode 3 is really quite interesting, I think. It begins with a whole step. So if we're in the key of C, I've got C, D, and then half step, E flat, E. Then it starts again, whole step, half step, half step. So that would be E, F sharp, G, A flat, and then A flat, B, C. Here's a little example of mode 3. This is something that you film scorers and modern classical composers could get a lot out of. Mode 4 has 6 transpositions and 4 modes. It consists of this interval combination: half step, minor third, half step, minor third, half step. So you got C, D flat, D, then the minor third jump up to F, G flat, G, A flat, B, C. So this is mode 4, and it sounds like this. Here's the 4th mode, starting on C. So it's C, D flat, D, and then a minor third jump up to F, G flat, G, A flat, minor third jump, C. So we've got 2 minor thirds in the scale, in the mode. Once again, C, D flat, D, F, and then G flat, G, A flat, B. I have a little example to play for you. It goes like this. This mode is very much like the 3rd mode to me. It's really inspiring. The interval combinations in it, the 2 minor third intervals. I could write an entire long form piece just on this particular mode. I think there's a lot of information you can take from it. A lot of really cool, interesting harmonies, melodic figures. This one in particular is one of my favorites. Mode 5 has 6 transpositions and 3 modes and is comprised of this interval combination: half step, major third, half step, major third, half step. So the notes C, D flat, F, G flat, G, B, C. And it sounds like this. Mode 5 is C, D flat, then F, F sharp, G, B, C. Now, there's some interesting voicings that you can get from this. If I take and I spread the F sharp out like this and open up the voicing a bit more, or if I open the voicing like that, I put the B in there. Right there is the entire scale. But there's some really cool sounds that you can get out of this. Messiaen mode 6 consists of 6 transpositions and 4 modes. The interval combination is Messiaen mode 6 consists of 6 transpositions and 4 modes. The interval combination is whole step, half step, half step, whole step, half step, half step. Very symmetrical, easy to remember. The 6th mode has more of an augmented flavor to it. You begin with the first 4 notes of a major scale, and then you put the sharp 4 in there. That's actually the first half of the pattern, and then you start on F sharp, so it's C, D, E, F, F sharp, and then F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So once again, if you think of it from F sharp, like you're doing an F sharp major scale, and then you add the sharp 4 to it. So these two are a tritone away, so, and then, so they're inherent in this is that augmented whole tone scale, but you also have this augmented 4th interval here between the F and the B. So you've got this whole tone, but then these other notes that are not from the scale that add a certain flavor to it. So I would probably take advantage of some of those intervals that you have in there if I'm going. Mode 7 is the final mode. It has 6 transpositions and 5 modes. The interval formula is half step, half step, half step, whole step, half step, half step, half step, half step, whole step, half step. A little bit trickier. So it would be in this case based off C. C, D flat, D, E flat, F, G flat. That's the first half. And then G flat, G, A flat, A, B, C. And it sounds like this. With this mode, you don't have to focus on the dissonances with the clusters. You can actually have some really cool open sounds. Let's say I go C, D, E flat to F. I left out the C sharp in there. But let's say I stick with that. You can do a very similar voicing on F sharp if I go. Beautiful sound. So those are the 7 modes of limited transposition. Study them and see what types of sounds you can come up with. This is a really fresh approach that Messiaen came up with, a series of repeatable symmetrical scales that have modes that go with them that are not part of your regular lexicon of scales. These are all hybrid scales. I think there's a lot of great melodic and harmonic material that can be taken from these and explored. That's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel. And if you're interested in the Beato book, please write me at rickbeato1@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.